Hey everybody, it's Dottie. I still haven't heard from the other Dollyholics yet, but I figured I can just keep posting videos. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about doll modification, additive mods as well as subtractive. So modifying your doll is something that a lot of people are scared to do, and rightly so. I mean, these dolls are really expensive, so modifying, a doll that's worth hundreds of dollars and potentially ruining it is something that should spark some worry in people. A lot of what most people's first mod is opening eyes, opening a sleeping head and cutting the eyes open to be wider. That was my first modification. You can do it with an X-Acto knife and some sandpaper. A lot of heads do get ruined that way, I'm not gonna lie. I pretty much did ruin my first modification head. So, it's not something to be taken lightly. There are cheaper heads on the market now that you can start on. If you look in the marketplace on Den of Angels, there are a lot of damaged heads or just plain cheap heads like Fairyland Minifay sleeping heads. Those usually go for $50, $60. So those are a good option for your first modification. This is Lyubov. I think I'm saying it right, I hope so. I looked it up, but I'm not the best at pronouncing Russian. So, this is Lyubov, my modified Jury 2005 head. I'm trying to get her in the camera. Okay, so she is not default. This is not how she looked when she came from the company. This was one of Lutz's, this was Lutz's first giveaway head. What they did was if you order over a certain amount, they gave you this free head. And she was the first time they did that. This was in December 2005, I think. So, computer's falling. Sorry, computer is falling. Okay, so this is my modified doll. I have several modified dolls, but she's the one that has the most additive modifications. Now, keep in mind that when you modify a doll, like by adding things, it's not going to be the same color. Sorry, my computer is running away. Sorry for the change in camera, my computer is running away. So, she's the one that has the most additive modifications. She's borrowing my Cerberus Project girl body that belongs to my soul. So, I have a head here that I'm currently working on that will show you what it looks like before the modifications are airbrushed. It's very difficult to match what you're adding onto the head. So generally what people do is just add whatever they want on, and after that airbrush it and then do a face up. So this is a discontinued full choice system head. It's a Volks FO7. It's been discontinued for a few years now, but I got it in the marketplace kind of cheaply because it was missing its lips. It didn't have lips. They had been sanded off. So I'm working on adding a new pair of lips, which you can see I have done. They still need some work, but you can see they're very clearly a different color. So what I plan to do is finish the lip modifications, sand them to the shape that I like, and then I'm going to airbrush them, airbrush around the lips skin tone paint that I've matched to this head. So they'll essentially be invisible, the modifications after they're airbrushed, if that makes sense. I hope I said that correctly. So pretty much you do need an airbrush to be able to do additive modifications or be willing to send it to a customizer that has an airbrush, because otherwise there's really no way to try and cover modifications without an airbrush. I tried it once before I had an airbrush. It really did not look good. So, things you're going to need if you do want to do additive modifications. firstly what you're going to need is an epoxy clay, which is something that cures hard, and it's a clay. What I like to use is Milliput Superfine White. It comes in 2 parts. It cures in either 12 or 24 hours. I usually leave it a day just to be safe. But it's a 2-part clay, and I order it off of eBay. It usually ends up around $15 with shipping, something like that. And this is what comes in the package. There are these 2 things, and what you want to do is mix equal parts by volume. I mean, estimated, but by volume, not by weight. So, it's pretty normal looking. It doesn't stink or anything. I wouldn't eat it. I'm pretty sure it's toxic. So, there's 2 parts. They're generally the same color, so make sure you don't try and mix together 2 parts of the same clay. They won't stay good forever, but, I mean, I had my last pack of Milliput for 3 or 4 years, and it only recently just went bad. So it does last a while, and if you're only going to do 1 modification, I mean $15, it's a pretty good price. So this is what an epoxy clay is. Make sure that if you use it, you mix it very, very thoroughly. Because if you don't mix it thoroughly, what's going to happen is when you go to sand it, you're going to run into these blobs in what you sculpted that aren't cured. It's uncured clay that you didn't mix together, so the 2 parts couldn't, cure together. So then, if you run into that, what you have to do is scrape everything off, which is a pain in the ass, and then redo it. You can tint the clay. I don't usually, just because I airbrush it, but you can tint it with acrylic paints. Craft paints aren't recommended just because of their lower pigment content, so use a higher quality paint to color your epoxy clay. Or some people use pastels. I find that pastels come out not very smooth looking. There's little chunks of pastel in there. I've just had problems with coloring with pastel before, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. So other things you're going to need, obviously you're going to need sandpaper for once the modification is done. Now, I hope you all know what sandpaper looks like. I usually buy, there's a Testors brand that you can get at Michael's. It's just a little pack. It comes with 5 different grits of sandpaper going all the way up to 3,000 or something. And those last a long time for me. They're little tiny sheets. But they're made for models, so you can get that at Michael's. And nextly, very important, what you're going to need is a dust mask. Don't do any modifications without a dust mask. It's really just not worth it. Inhaling resin dust or epoxy dust is really, really bad for you. It can make you sick. And also what it causes is it gets into your lungs, and then your body has no way of getting rid of it, and causes scarring in your lungs and can damage you permanently. At least that's my understanding of what happens. I wouldn't know because I'm very, very careful not to inhale it ever. It's really bad for you, and I can't stress that enough. I should have said that first in this video, just because I would feel really horrible if I promoted modifications without telling people how dangerous it can be if you're not careful. Okay, so if you guys have any questions about any of this, please let me know. So on the Dollyholics front page, ask your questions. I'll either reply to them in text, or I'll try and do a video to respond. So I hope this is helpful for you guys, and I'm going to be on vacation next week, so I won't be updating for probably 2 weeks, but I hope this is helpful for you guys, and happy modifications if you decide to try them.